On June 6th, 2000, I was ordained by the members of the Accotink Unitarian Universalist Church, my home congregation in Burke, Virginia, and the Mount Vernon Unitarian Church, my internship congregation in Alexandria. It was the culmination of a long journey of discernment, 13 years in total, and just the beginning, 25 years ago. It all started in the winter of 1987. I was taking a lasagna out of the oven. In the tiny apartment that Josh and I were living in Ann Arbor, when I felt God's presence around me calling me to ministry. And I know that sounds weird. It felt weird and confusing. Josh was in graduate school at the University of Michigan, and I was working in one of the departments as a secretary at the university. We were not yet married. We were planning our wedding for that July. And we were going to move to the Washington, D.C. area in May, where Josh would start his career in the federal government, and I would pursue my master's in education. So needless to say, this unexpected divine encounter over a casserole rocked me to my core. I wasn't sure what to make of it, and neither was Josh when I told him about it when he got home. I grew up Unitarian Universalist, so having God show up and talk to me was not part of my theological upbringing. Given that many UUs question God's existence or don't believe in it at all, and yet that's what happened. And God was clear that it was Unitarian Universalist ministry to which she called me. I had what I would call, she is whoever we need her to be, right? I had what I would call God moments before, but they were more of those in awe of nature, one with everything kind of experiences, not direct instruction. And I already had a plan. I wanted to be a special education teacher, and I was not ready to abandon that yet. I had no idea, how do you become a minister? And Josh and I weren't attending a church at the time, so I didn't have anyone to ask. So I just put it back in the oven with the lasagna and moved on. I became a teacher, working with adolescents with learning and mental health challenges in a day program for several years outside Washington, D.C., which I loved most of the time. And I'll be honest, it prepared me really well for ministry. Really learned how not to take anything personally. However, that divine nudge toward ministry wouldn't leave me alone. Josh and I joined the Accotink Unitarian Universalist Church near our home, and eventually I got up the courage to go to speak to my minister, the Reverend Becky Edmonston Lang, about my call. And she was very supportive and enthusiastic, and she outlined the whole process for me. She also told me that 3 other members of the church were already in seminary and pursuing ordination. So I was lucky. I walked into a situation where I had 3 people already who knew the path. And in 1994, I entered Wesley Theological Seminary. If you were here last Sunday, you heard Brian and I describe the requirements of ordination in the Unitarian Universalist ministry: earning an MDiv from an accredited seminary, clinical pastoral education, field education, internship, psychological testing, and the preparation of materials for an appearance before the Ministerial Fellowship Committee, or MFC, of the Unitarian Universalist Association, the body which discerns the fitness of all candidates for ministry and grants us fellowship if we pass. It took me 6 years to get through all of that, including some time away to welcome our first son, Sam. But I got through everything on that list, and I went before the MFC in February of 2000, and I passed. Once through all that gauntlet, I asked both my home congregation and my internship congregation to ordain me, which they were happy to do, which was very affirming. I don't remember too many details of the ordination service. It was long, and it was a long time ago. My internship supervisor, Reverend Ken Hurto, gave this sermon. I'm embarrassed to say I can't remember who offered the charge to the minister or the hand of fellowship on behalf of my colleagues. I was given this stole by the contingent of quilters from my internship congregation. And they knew how much I loved Bible studies, so they told the Genesis creation story on my stole. This pulpit is very large and you can't show stuff. I remember the members of the congregation standing and laying their hands on me as they conferred the act of ordination, which is a really powerful thing. And I promised to serve and live into their charge. And finally, I remember very well the words offered to me by the Reverend Dr. Bob Whitten, an American Baptist minister who led the ordination prayer. A therapist as well as a minister, Bob had counseled me through a very difficult time while I was in seminary and had seen me at my lowest as well as my most joyful. And he played a huge part in helping me reach ordination. And he was warm and he was wise. As he blessed me that afternoon, he reminded me and everyone there that ordination means to be set apart, not in the sense of being put above or over others, but in that I have been given a sacred trust. Ordination is a sacred trust to accompany human souls in the service of God or the larger spirit of life and love, and to abide with them in the liminal spaces between the sacred and the ordinary, between life and death, between loss and love, between the world as it is and the world we imagine, the world we hope for. I was set apart to hold and care, and with reverence, all the stories of the people and communities I would serve. Or as my founding sister in ministry, Olympia Brown, said, I'd be called to scenes of sorrow and mourning, to weep with those who weep, as well as rejoice with those who rejoice, to sympathize with suffering in its various forms. A call to ministry is not enough on its own to justify ordination, even if one claims divine blessing. A call to ministry must be affirmed and it must be lived in community. So it is never just mine. I went through this long and arduous process because the larger faith community that I wish to serve, our Unitarian Universalist faith, needed to be confident that I could be trusted with the care of human souls. Ministry is not the only profession like this. Teachers, nurses, doctors, social workers, therapists, lawyers, healers, anyone who is charged with the care of others, be it their physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual health, needs to be held to a standard of professional ethics and accountability. But ministry, particularly congregational ministry, is different in that we serve wherever we are in the community all the time. Unlike other professions, my work is not bounded by set appointments or scheduled hours in an office or a classroom or a hospital. Whether I'm standing in the pulpit or sitting in a committee meeting, whether I'm downstairs in the kitchen washing dishes, or mediating a dispute about the parking lot, worrying about the pledge drive, or trying to convince a chipmunk to leave the RE wing, having a cup of coffee to catch up with someone, or at the bedside of someone ill or dying. I'm always, always a minister. So whether I am wearing my robe and stole or not, I can never take them off. And whether the people I am with see me in the moment primarily as Reverend Spiro or Ellen, I'm responsible for remembering and holding this sacred trust of ministry, always. Eugene Peterson published his memoir, The Pastor, in 2011. The trend of which he spoke, of ministers leaving their congregations or congregations dismissing their ministers after just a few years, disillusioned and disappointed, is still the reality now, perhaps more so. When I entered the search process in 2000 for a pulpit after my ordination, it was very competitive. I was warned by the UUA settlement director that unless I wanted to serve in Corpus Christi, Texas, I might have to do something else for a while. Today, many of those going into ministry do not want to serve congregations. They want to engage in ministries that get things done and make things happen. Community activism and social justice, or where they can have the boundaries of a professional setting like a hospital or office. As a result, a good number of Unitarian Universalist congregations are not able to find ministers to fill their pulpits. I understand why, and I trust each of my colleagues to discern the unique ways they are called to live into their vocation, their sacred trust. But there is a part of me that feels a little sorry for our congregations and our Unitarian Universalist faith, as I fear we are losing something I know to be very, very precious: ministry as a long-term presence in a congregation. Being called by a community of faith to pay attention and to call attention to what is going on and what matters, what is sacred and holy that is happening around us, locally, between us and among us, now, all the time, day after day, week after week, year after year. Sometimes heartbreaking, sometimes breathtaking, sometimes frustrating, sometimes joyful, sometimes so ordinary it is easy to miss what is holy in it. That I've been able to do this for 23 years of the 25 since my ordination, that I've been able to do that here, has been an honor and a privilege. And I have felt that sacred trust given me from you shift and deepen as I have accompanied you through the years. I know that I haven't always done it well, that I've failed at times to be as present or to be as understanding or as kind in the ways that you needed me to be. And I apologize for any and all of those moments. And yet we've seen each other through so much. We've grieved lives well loved and well lived. We've blessed children, and we've watched them grow into amazing young adults, and we've sent them out in the world, and some of them even come back and make cakes and cupcakes, which we get to eat. We've navigated conflicts and even betrayal. We've discerned becoming a welcoming congregation and recommitted to that. We wrote a congregational covenant. How many years did it take us? We witnessed and celebrated the legalization of equal marriage. We renovated our building to make it more welcoming for all souls. How long did that take us? We survived the first round of the current administration, and we survived COVID, and I trust that together we will get through whatever the heck is going on now in our country and in our world. as the one you called to pay attention and draw attention in community to what is going on right now that is sacred and meaningful and worthy of our attention. I am constantly in awe of you. Constantly in awe of you and your love for this place. How generously and willingly you give of your time and your talent and your treasure. And how you embody the kingdom of God, or if you prefer, the spirit of life and love, in ways that give me hope and humble me as I witness the grace and integrity with which you strive to bring more hope, more joy, more peace, more love to our little corner of the world. Whatever task the job of ministry involves, I believe that it comes down to love. When I have been asked, I have mentored a lot of young ministers, and when they ask me what's most important, I say, you have to love your people. You have to love your people. Loving the people I serve as best I can. And that's the sacred trust that you have given me, and you have made it the most glorious, meaningful, beautiful thing, and lots of fun. When I started, I had no idea of its depth or power, and I thank you for entrusting me with it.